Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, back with a new Viking Orations. Got a show review for you today. Yes, you heard me correct. My first show since Heavy Hell 3 and probably my last show of the year. Excuse me. Hopefully, with this new job that I'm getting, I will be able to attend more shows next year. We'll see what happens, see what's in the cards and everything, see how everything plays out. But yeah, this past Saturday, I was able to attend my first ever CD release show. And what better one to be my first and to attend than seeing the one celebrating the debut full length album of Indiana's own Doom Death juggernaut, Mother of Graves, entitled Where the Shadows Adorn. Excuse me. I actually arrived at the venue about an hour before the doors opened and spent that time hanging out with Sean from Wise Blood Records and his lovely wife, talking and joking around as he set up his booth. He pointed out a couple of members of one of the bands playing that night, and the autograph hunting was on. Throughout the evening, though, he introduced me to different people, or more surprisingly, they recognized me, and of course, I recognized them from our meeting at Heavy Hell 3, or just from being friends on Facebook, various band members and stuff. Some of the people that I ended up seeing that night, Brett and Nick from Hate Song, came up to me and said, hey. I saw Jeremy from Man Eating Giant. Of course, my buddy Taylor from Lust Witch was there. Nate Vaught, the artist that is originally from my hometown, that does artwork and logo work for Indiana bands and everything. Dre, the drummer for Cadaverous, was also in attendance. Scott Wilson, former Demericus guitarist, and then, of course, my buddy Ty from Cursed Blade, and a couple others that I will get into in my next video when I talk about the stuff that I got at the show. But yeah, as for the show itself, let's get things started here. Kicking things off were the new death metal powerhouse Flesher, and these guys already blew me away with their demo, which I did a review of, so if you want my thoughts, go check that out. Go check out the demo as well. But do they ever kick ass live as well? Great sound and lighting. Wasn't too much interaction with the crowd except for Dustin towards the end. They pretty much let the music do the talking, and it did a lot of talking, let me tell you. Paul's vocals were just as powerful live, and his guitar work was fantastic. Loved his solos. The bass was just simply heavy as fuck, and Dustin's drums were just thunderous. He was a beast behind the kit, and he also did backing vocals. He did these absolutely killer sounding low end growls that were just sick. After watching their set, I definitely want to see them again, and I say bring on the album that is supposed to be coming sometime next year. Next to hit the stage were Blasted Heath with their brand of spacey, blackened thrash metal. Having missed them the night before Heavy Hell 3, they had played a show with Bloodletter and one other band who escapes me at the moment. I was considering this my redemption round, and I was eager to see them, especially after all the great things I had heard about their live performance. And then watching the sound check was cool, especially when bassist Joe Clark was sound checking his bass and checking the levels and everything, and he was just kind of hitting some notes. I don't know if he hit a wrong note or he did something, but all of a sudden there was this big feedback, and he was just kind of smiled. I was like, whoops. So that was pretty hilarious. Again, these guys had a really great sound. Excuse me. They definitely like to use feedback at times throughout the set, whether to end a song or to kind of go into a song. And I love the 80s kind of sci-fi sounds they incorporated throughout their set. Great crowd interaction. And I love the introduction to the song Ape, as it had me and my nephew both laughing our asses off after he introduced the song. And just honestly, everything was just so well executed. They were on top form and really delivered another blistering set for the evening. So already 2 bands in, this night was already kicking so much ass. And then the last support slot went to Indianapolis Doom Titans, Apostle of Solitude. And as you can probably tell by the people I've already talked about, because I've mentioned them before, every band on this bill was a Indiana band, and mainly from Indianapolis. So very cool aspect of this evening. And then having only recently really kind of gotten into their music, despite knowing about these guys for years, I was still anxious to see them live, as many told me leading up to this show how great they were live. I know several people say, oh man, I've seen them live several times and they kick ass every time. So I was really anxious to see how they performed. And their guitars, they were heavy yet melodic with great solo work. Mike Nash's bass tone was thick and heavy and really came through in the mix. Corey Webb's drum sound was just massive, and he absolutely pummeled that snare drum. He treated it like it owed him money. And then you topped everything off with just top-notch vocals, and I especially love the dual vocal harmonies that both guitarists Steve Janiak and Chuck Brown created. I mean, especially during the first couple of songs, but anytime those two sang together, those vocal harmonies were just beautiful. Again, great crowd interaction from this band, and they genuinely looked like they were having a great time on stage. And then after the show, my nephew told me on the ride home, he's like, hey, he said, I enjoyed every band, but I really dug Apostle of Solitude. They were probably my favorite band of the night. He really loved their sound, so that was awesome. Excuse me. And finally, we have the ones we were here to see. Well, we were here to see all of them, but what the evening was all about: Mother of Graves, the band we were here to celebrate, their album release. And I have been such a huge fan of these guys' work since their EP, and having seen and heard so much about their live show, I couldn't wait to finally witness it for myself. And I must note that the blue lighting that they had, in addition to, again, some killer sound, really fit the atmosphere of the band's music, in my opinion. And then, kind of a little funny side note here, part of way, like not even that far into the set, there was somebody off to my left in the crowd, kind of in the main area, because I kind of stuck towards the back, because I had a little banister to kind of lean on and everything, and I wanted a really good view. But they had one of those inflatable suits that you see that's usually a T-Rex, but this one was a Garfield. So we had an inflatable Garfield throughout the Mother of Graves set. Definitely a funny and what the fuck kind of moment. Excuse me. And honestly, these dudes executed everything flawlessly, in my opinion. And watching guitarists Chris Morrison and Ben Sandman laying down these absolutely killer riffs and solos, with bassist Corey Clark just headbanging like mad while providing that solid backbone to all the songs, which is absolutely amazing. Don's drums were on point, and I loved his double bass work. When he used it, as it really hits you in the chest. I mean, a good example is in Of Solitude and Stone. I just love the double bass part in that song. Brandon Howe's vocals are just as powerful as they have ever been. Another great vocal performance from him, as always, as I've also seen him fronting Summon the Destroyer 2 times live. And you could really see and hear the emotion in his performance, as lyrically, these songs are very personal for him. And in addition to his vocals, his keyboard work was simply beautiful and really set the atmosphere with their somberness. And, they also really helped to accentuate certain sections of the song. I thought they were really well placed, and I loved his setup, because if you're looking at the stage, he was basically, you had like his keyboards, as he's facing you would be to his right, and it had a microphone there, and then he just had a standalone microphone right there. And he started out the night, playing the keyboards and doing vocals for the first song, and then, part of the way through, he stepped over to the, just the mic and would do that. And then throughout the night, he would just kind of switch back and forth, and he would, walk the stage, interact with the crowd, and, just, when it would come time for him to have to do some kind of keyboard bit along with his vocals, he would just kind of sidestep over, play the keyboards, keep growling his heart out, and it was just amazing to watch him perform these songs. Obviously, the band set consisted mostly of new stuff from the new album, but they also threw in a couple off of their EP, In Somber Dreams, including the title track, with Corey and Ben providing the clean vocal parts during the chorus. They also premiered 2 songs. These were songs that they have yet to play live, and I thought that was really cool that I got to be there for that first time seeing these songs live. They played "The Emptiness of Eyes," which is an amazing song, as well as the Caligula's Voice, which is the epic 7+ minute closing track on the album, which fittingly they used as the closer for their set. Throughout their whole performance, I found myself not only just head banging throughout at various paces, because sometimes most of the time it's just kind of one of these things, and then they'd have some faster parts, so you'd have to get a little bit faster. But I was also finding myself just kind of closing my eyes and just absorbing and feeling the emotions coming through the music, because their music is just simply powerful and full of emotions, and they honestly surpassed any expectations I had going into this show. Overall, this was a fantastic night and a banger and rager of a show. I saw 4 great bands for the first time ever, never seen any of them live, and I met lots of cool people and witnessed such an amazing turnout. I mean, the place was packed. The lighting and sound overall for the show was excellent. There were some unexpected moments of feedback here and there, but they were so rare that it really didn't detract from the overall experience, I felt. All the bands put on a great show. They executed everything really well, and made my maiden voyage of seeing them live one to remember, and made me want to see them again for sure if I'm able to. And honestly, if you get the chance to see any of these bands live, do it. Honestly, seeing the turnout and the reaction of the crowd, especially after the show, watching this surge of people to the Mother of Graves booth, which honestly, their booth was pretty much jam-packed most of the evening, but especially after their set, it really made me proud of my local scene, and I'm glad to say that I am a part of it. So yeah, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing, and until next time, stay brutal.